But now it's time for our favorite segment, a little segment we like to call Rick's Picks. Last week, we talked about Justin Jefferson. Fantastic conversation. If you didn't hear or see that, you can check that out on the Pick 6 YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcast and hear Rick talk about that. Great responses from folks that were had nothing but nice things to say about you. I'm not even kidding. Like people love them to Rick Spielman. This week, if you thought JJ was something, we're going with way back. Adrian Peterson back in 2007. What pick was he? He was a top 5 pick or top 10 pick?
No, he was, I think we took him maybe ninth year.
Okay. All right. Well, give us the lowdown.
This
so
was
heading into the draft at Oklahoma. What was the process? Because this was the time back when you could take running backs in the top 10, and it was a different, the way the offenses were different. The thinking about running backs were different. So what were you guys in that fall? What was your experience watching Adrian Peterson absolutely demolish folks?
Yeah, we felt that when you watched Adrian Peterson at Oklahoma, that he may be one of those generational type running backs. Just how big he was, how fast he was, how strong he was. But I'll go into the story here a little bit. This is where all these smoke screens that you hear before the draft, and I'll explain why. Things happen and why guys may fall or may not fall. Who knows? We just got very lucky that he fell to us. So as we were going through the pre-draft process, and it was my first draft with the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm sitting there and I'm sitting in a draft room. We know that we definitely want Adrian Peterson. So sitting with the Wilf family right next to me, staring at me, we need Adrian Peterson. So I said, okay. So I was like, okay, this first draft, this is going to go great. I may be back in the media right after this draft in 2008. So we're going through the pre-draft process. There was a lot of things that came out about Adrian and his collarbone. Some said that he needed to get surgery. He had to have a plate on it. Others were okay with it. Somehow it leaked out that he went on some visits and some physicals, and some doctors were saying he definitely needs a plate and surgery. That year we had Chester Taylor, and Chester Taylor had rushed for over 1,000 yards. So people didn't think that we really needed a running back. We were really kind of honed in on some defensive backs. We were honed in on safeties because we needed a safety. We looked at some offensive linemen as well. So as we're sitting there in that draft, we're picking number 5, number 6. I thought the first opportunity he had a chance to go in that draft was, I believe, to Arizona.
Arizona had the number 5 pick. They took Levi Brown.
They took Levi Brown. Okay, the offensive tackle, Penn State. So the ownership's looking at me and they're saying, Rick, move up to go get Adrian Peterson. And I was saying, Mark and Ziggy, with all due respect, let me just sit here and see if he falls to us. And I'm acting all cool and calm and everything. And my stomach is about ready to throw up. Please have this guy fall to us. So we're going down through the draft. And then you can see right after, we were number 7 that year. Good graphic. Okay, so number 6, the Redskins were at number 6. And we had teams calling, and this is part of the draft strategy, is to understand where other teams' needs are in the draft. So you have to follow what they did in free agency. You have to follow if they traded for anybody. So I was talking to a particular team about potentially moving up, and I won't mention them. And I talked to their general manager, and they say, we're going to take your guy. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, I don't think they're going to take a running back. They don't know that Adrian Peterson's our guy. And I says, no, we're just going to sit there and hold. And then
Rick, let me actually check real quick. So he didn't know who your guy was. He thought he knew who your guy was. He was trying to bluff you.
Yeah. They thought we knew, because there was a lot of rumors out there. We spent a lot of time with a safety from LSU that year.
Yeah, LeBron Landry.
There. So so I hang up the phone, and there's make 5 minutes left to go before we're getting ready to pick. And I got the ownership just staring at me. Make the trade. And I said, no, I'm going to sit here and just kind of see what happens. And like I said, it's just like that's what makes the draft so exciting, because you don't know what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. So I called another team back, and I said, we're just going to stick and hold where we're at. Then that team called me back with about 3 minutes left to go in the draft and said, hey, there's another team that's going to move up to take your guy, and we're going to make that trade. And I said, who's that other team? And when that person that I was talking to said it was the Jacksonville Jaguars, I hung up the phone and I said, no, we're just going to sit and take our guy. So I have the ownership looking at me, why didn't you make that trade? Well, Jacksonville at the time had a pretty good running back down there, a little short guy from LSU, if you remember who I'm talking about. And so we sat there. The Redskins ended up taking Landry, and then that's how Adrian Peterson eventually fell to us.
So I wanted to ask you about this. So Adrian Peterson was there. Marshawn Lynch ended up going 12th, another running back. You mentioned there's some DBs you're interested in. We talked about LaRon Landry. Darrelle Revis was there. Any of those guys on the radar as potential?
Oh, yeah, we talked about all those guys, but we knew we were honed in on Adrian Peterson, and that was the decision. It may not have been an immediate need, but do you pass up on someone who you feel, your scouts and your coaches feel, is going to be a generational type player? And he ended up changing our franchise, and will probably eventually be in the Hall of Fame one day.
So this is going to be a silly question, but probably one of the best picks you've ever made?
I would say we, as an organization.
Right,
It's never me. I take responsibility if we fail on a pick. If we hit on a pick, it's the organization that did it. It's the scouts, it's the coaches, because there's a lot of people that put a lot of work into this.
That's why you're who you are. Very magnanimous.
But I can tell you that I am sure in the heck taking that little corner from Utah Phillips over your guy Brent's at
we're going to be talking about this.
State.
We're going to be talking about this until the late fall.